Then.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. So I'm Lacey with the Cowboys. I work in corporate partnerships and business operations specifically. So I deal a lot with core in the system and constantly trying to improve or update or where we can make efficiencies better in any place. So.
Right.
So we actually have been working with Core for quite a while, since 2012, and that has mainly been our sponsorship platform. And our goals for that were, obviously we have other departments that we work with, and we wanted to help streamline those operations to get them into it where they're not siloed and they're doing something outside of it and doing extra work. Obviously, having one place that is our source of truth, where all the information is kept, no one's gatekeeping any information on their own. There's transparency. And then obviously having all that data in one place means we can have some reports and insight into what's really going on with our partnerships and our business that's up to date and on demand. So today, what that looks like, Core is really just, our Bible, so to speak, as far as partnerships and deals and contracts. This is where everything goes and lives, and everyone knows that if it's not in Core, it doesn't exist, basically. And that includes rate cards, inventory, those are being updated constantly, or the statuses are changed, deals in their terms, exclusivities or categories, our legal exhibits that are generated from our rate cards. This helps with our legal department. They are involved in this process, and this is a huge factor for them in their process. And then billing and payments, keeping the status. Was this invoice sent out? Was this bill paid? Have we received that payment? So that obviously rolls into, cross-departmental workflows, incorporating what they need to do into Core and making sure we're being efficient and we're not adding extra work on their part. We're helping them and taking a little bit of that load off of them. So our current workflow is we have a deal, a sales manager creates a deal sheet, and everything's approved, and they're ready to go ahead and push that in our workflow. It goes to our management executive team. They look at it and kind of give that the once over and give that approval. That then pushes to my team, our operations team. And this is where we kind of get the magnifying glass out and we make sure like everything is there, information is accurate, details, approvals. This is really what our legal team uses to generate a contract. So it's a story. We need to make sure there's nothing missing in the story for this deal for legal. Once we approve that, we push it to legal. Legal then reviews it. If everything looks great, they will generate a contract. They use the exhibit, generate exhibit language from Core, which is a huge help for them. We have larger deals that have a lot of assets, and that would just be very time consuming on their end. So this is something that they love, that they can push a button and it generates the Word doc with all of the assets on there for them with the appropriate legal language. Once this is generated, the full contract, it's signed and completed. This is where accounting then steps in, and then they go, and our billing manager within Core, they push all of our invoices and payments. They push that to their own accounting system. So again, saving a step for them, not double entry. They can then go in their accounting system and update any information invoicing status, our payment collection, that then pushes back down into core. So again, saving steps where we can, not having to double enter things, and everyone is, aligned. It's in their system and in our system.
Yeah, Lacey, just one quick thing, just to kind of point out, because we've seen some other clubs struggle with this a little bit, is what we love about seeing a workflow like this is that although this is touching many different departments, it's all coming from one hub. And so you get this in some other scenarios. What we've seen is this game of telephone a little bit, where it may start in core, and before you know it, it's hit 3 or 4 other systems and 3 other formats and different Excel files, and you start to get discrepancy across departments. So I love this, that while legal, they need to generate a contract, at least that's coming from the source of truth. Finance needs to get their billings into the general ledger. That is coming through, and payments are set back. So
Yep.
This is just like ideal state, and something that I know some organizations have struggled to get to that point. So it's awesome to hear that everyone's kind of pulling from the same source of
Yes.
truth.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was, our big focus too. We're not trying to add work to other departments, right? We're trying to make this easier, but we're also wanting it to be in one place. So yeah, that is going to take time, and it's going to take work. You have to work out with that department, and we worked with core to figure out this, the best way to go about it, because every place is going to be different, but we were able to do that. And so now we really have a great process. Everyone understands where everything is and where it needs to be, but it will always funnel back down into core, essentially.
Right. It's almost as much change management and team alignment as it is feature configuration, for example.
Right. Right.
All right.
Okay, so media. So as any team or business grows that has media, growth means more money, but more money means we need more things to sell, right? So for us, media is a huge amount of our inventory. And that being said, media isn't a straightforward inventory item. It's not like tickets where you're like, okay, you're getting season tickets, you're assigned, there you go, that's it. There's a lot more things involved with media, especially outside of core, that have to be done, right? Content, name, trafficking instructions, logs, playlists, you're dealing with other affiliates, getting that information out to them. So this is all, time consuming, obviously, and manual, depending on how you do it. It's not pretty straightforward process. So what we did initially, we obviously knew we needed a system. We had a third-party system, and it was one of the better ones, but yet it was built for businesses that really, were broadcast companies. This was like their main thing that they did. And for us and many other sports teams, you might, understand like, well, we don't need that. We need it customized kind of towards the sports industry. We're using aspects of it, but not everything. And so we were paying for a system that had all the bells and whistles, but we really just needed 10% of it, right? We just needed certain stuff. We also had to use an API because, obviously there's a ton of assets. How does that get into this other system? When we have an API, that there's always breaks in connections. And then you're trying to struggle to figure out where is that break coming from. And in that time, you're not being able to do your job and push that inventory and traffic it. So that also leads to some double entry in this third-party system. The way that system was set up, there's things that we had to put in, information we had to just put in that we could not use the integration for. And so it was just a catch-22. It saved us some time, but yet it took away some time. So I reached out to core and was like, hey, do y'all know of any other teams, what systems they use. And that's, I don't know if it was tech, but they were like, actually, we are building something right now called Orchestrate. And to me, that made perfect sense. I mean, all the information's there. Why not, utilize that? Then that way it's not living outside. We're not building and doing all this stuff outside of core. So a little bit how it works. Obviously, the sponsorship module is going to have all the data and information about the inventory and the contracts and the terms and the deals. That then pushes into the platform Activate, which is a scaled down version of core. Basically, it's only showing the deals and all the inventory items in there. It's giving more of a user-friendly view of that, where you can store files, content, media files, or documents, notes, or even have tasks for these deals or assets. Orchestrate just really piggybacked off of that. It made perfect sense because all that information was there. And now we're just focusing on media assets, right? So now we can just pull media assets and we can put in the content information, trafficking instructions, building logs, having our formats saved and templates saved that were created, and also reporting. So a little bit of the workflow. Obviously, when a deal in core has reached a status, a certain approval status, deal status, that is an automation. It will go into Activate/Orchestrate. So I don't have to do anything there. I already know it's in there. And then I am receiving content from our service reps as they are tracking, obviously, what assets their partners have and what's needed. I will go in on my part and put in the names, file names, instructions, any notes about this asset and the program. That then goes to our director of programming and trafficking. So about a week before a program will start, she will go in and start creating logs. And so she can create a log with breaks and billboards and segments and features. Our game day logs are huge and complicated, but the thing of it is she can just do it once and that will roll over. She can always carry that over, which is great, which is something she loves. The only thing that changes are the spots. So she creates those logs and then she exports them to whatever file type and sends those to our affiliates. And some of those are external and some of those are internal. Some shows that we produce or our digital signage that we do ourselves. And then we have our proof of performance, which our manager of research and analytics oversees and monitors, and he looks at and eventually will create and send this information to our partner or to our service rep, just basically showing, hey, we delivered, what you contracted, and we even bonused, on all this stuff.
Right. And so I think, highlighting what we were talking about, what we were speaking about earlier, was the fact that we're extending that source of truth where all of the contracts live, where all of the inventory lives. So rather than dealing with the integration challenges that you mentioned earlier, it's just the natural extension that we now want to execute on these contracts. And so the one area I want to just double click on is, of course, all those sponsorship deals can be represented in Activate. And many of you are familiar and have used Activate. And that can be for anything, when are we using tickets? When are we putting up fixed signage? But certain assets, like Lacey is highlighting, these media components that have higher complexity, they're you can think about Orchestrate really as, a feature add-on to Activate that's tailor-made to handle the complexity of those asset types. And so again, all within the same ecosystem, all within that same kind of sponsorship command center, if you will, of your deal hubs, all of the assets, how we're activating them, and then taking those in-venue and media assets and really getting specific. So just wanted to highlight it kind of sticks again of rather than handing that off to other systems to do and dealing with the integration challenges, the game of telephone, like we said, this all kind of stays within the same ecosystem. So
yeah, it makes sense. Like, why wouldn't it? It's all there. So that makes perfect sense to utilize that. So the broadcast automation, this is an example of like when a log is created. There's the standard file types to export to Excel or Word or PDF or CSV. We did work with the Orchestrate team to create custom file exports, one for Odyssey, our radio network, and then one for Cisco, which handles our digital signage, which they were great at, which was a huge thing for us. So we could easily just have that specific file export and send that to, them. They just ingest it into their system and it works seamlessly. So saving another step on that. This is showing just a little bit about how I'm going in and adding the creative, adding the content and traffic instructions. As you can see, I will go and search for the account and it will only show me the assets they have. So it's not like every single asset's in there. It will only tie to that account and those assets that are tied to it. And I know like, okay, what am I missing and what do I have? So this is on the left. I will go in and put, here's the file name, here's the length. Rotation, is there more than one spot that we're going to be rotating at what percentage? And then I can pick, okay, is it just one radio show? Is it all of our radio shows? I mean, it just depends. And any notes that I might need to give to our director of trafficking, like where is the spot? Where can she go and pull it? And then we also do a cart number that's only for radio. Then we select the actual asset that this is going to go to. So we have the program, but we have, here's the asset, and this is specifically a 30-second spot. So this is going to be the 30-second spots. Like, again, it will only show you the assets that are tied to this account. It will not just show you everything. So you're not having to filter through or try to read back something else. And then the, when it's going to play, you have an option to select, hey, we're just going to do all the events within this season. And a lot of accounts do that. And a lot of accounts change their content on a regular basis. So then that's when you give a date range. And the great thing about a date range is maybe they didn't give you an end date at that moment, but then they come back and go, oh, we want to go ahead and update it. You can easily go in and just adjust that end date as you need to add then a new piece of content for it. And so the other side is just showing like when you add content, you can see it clearly there. It's listed out for each of the event and the programs. And so this again is example of the log. When you're creating it on the left-hand side, you have all your accounts, you have the quantity. So like, okay, AT&T has 2 spots and I know I fulfilled that because it's 2 of 2, right? There's an auto scheduler, which is awesome because you basically can set rules and hit a button and it'll fill out this log for you based off of that. And it will fill it out evenly and bonus it evenly too. So that's another great feature in scheduling. That's again, not a manual thing. It's an automated thing. And so we did work with the KPI team, specifically give a shout out to Dale Earnhardt. He helped us create a POP report. We gave him very basic requests for this and he kind of knocked it out of the park and did everything that we wanted and more. And so we love him now for that. And we're building on this. So our goal, what we had before was basically every, media type was separated. And we were like, we want everything to be in one place. We want all of our signage, POP, proof of performance, radio, TV, podcasts to be in one place so that when you have your account, you can see everything in one place for them, right? And that's a great way to present to, the partner, like, hey, here it is. It's all in one place. We're not having to copy paste, and build this out separately. We already have it one here. So this is another thing that we're working towards and we'll have hopefully done before mid-season, I would think.
Awesome.
But
Fantastic.
I mean, I want to say overall that the system is very user-friendly and easily adoptable. We kind of went out on a limb and canceled our other system and jumped into this one, not knowing what it was going to be, but it was the smoothest of transition that you could ever have with a system. It just helped automate a lot of processes and streamline workflows that we were kind of doing manually, and it really brought adoption from everyone. So it really was like kind of blew us away, and it was the perfect fit for us.
Awesome. Well, Lacey, I can't thank you enough for going. I mean, as